Man, good to be here. Thank y'all for coming out. Thank you, Chef Kwame.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you all so much for being here. This is actually my first stop on the book tour, so it's pretty cool to do that in Chicago.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Chicago is a city of a lot of firsts. So,
Yeah. We got to be first. We got egos here too. I know she read off some of the stats, but I'm gonna keep on going. You got some more, man. This man is like the Michael Jordan of like the cooking world. So also in addition, one of Food and Wine's best new chefs, you were mentioned as Esquire's 2019 Chef of the Year. Zagat and Forbes 30 under 30, Times 100 Next list. What else we got here? Let's see, Food and Wine executive producer. Man, this brother just doing it all out here, man.
There was a really important one. His cookbook.
Oh yeah, the cook and the cookbook, and the cookbook that we got right here, which is we're gonna talk about the cookbook, but man, this is a pleasure to be talking to you and have you here in Chicago, and starting off with us here.
Pleasure's all mine. I love Chicago. As soon as I get off the plane, get a burger from Ocheval. Normally get a hot dog somewhere. I gotta say, I put ketchup on mine. I know that's like blasphemous out here, but
well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been good.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Though, right? At least I was honest. I didn't have to admit that.
Actually, after hearing that list, the first thing I thought was, do you always win at that game of Icebreaker where it's like, what is one interesting fact about you? And also, what is the interesting fact that you always pick?
You know what I always say? What's his name? Mike Tyson's my uncle.
Is that true, though?
No, it's not true. But it's hilarious.
Boy, you sold it. You sold it. I was like, I could kind of see it right here.
I see it in the forehead.
Yeah, I can see it right there. We're going to jump into the book, but man, check this out. Like, I want to know how you feel about hearing this. Time magazine called this one of the most anticipated cookbooks of 2022. And I found out, I saw on your Instagram that it's already one of the number one bestseller on Amazon before it even came out. How does that feel?
It's super surreal. It's something that I definitely worked really, really hard for. I did things different. And a lot of people were always like, why did you write a memoir at 24 years old? Why didn't you write your cookbook first? And, for me, I just didn't want to do what everybody else is doing. I think it's fun to do things that are different. So in writing this book, even calling it My America, people are thinking it's going to be like pot roast and apple pie. And it's not that at all, because my version of America, looks different from other people's versions of America growing up. When you're a kid, you're just a kid.
Yeah.
You're not thinking whatever your parents are feeding you is a certain national type of cuisine. But I know that I was in America, so I just thought all Americans ate like this. But it wasn't true. And that's why I put this cookbook out to show you, give you a glimpse into my life and give a voice to the inaudible.
There you go.
For sure. What would you say to every other person putting out a cookbook this year? Would you say
don't wait till my shit drop?
All right, cool.
Give me some leg room. That's what I would say.
That's what I would have said. Mine isn't coming out this year. It's pushed.
Hold
May
it back.
2023.
Hold it back. That's what I would say. Hope this is live streaming across the world.
That's the exact answer I was hoping for, man. Don't release nothing this year. I don't even want to release a book that I wrote just to myself.
Don't even write in your journal. This year. All right, just let me have it, please.
Dear self, I'm not doing it today. You talk about the book being very different, and it is very different. So I almost feel like to call it like a cookbook is almost not doing it enough justice. How did it feel to create something that is very personal to you, and it really explains, how you see your culinary art and where it came from? Because you gave a lot of derivatives of where food came from in this book, and I just want to know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of pressure because my first book, did so well. So I know I couldn't just put out just a regular cookbook, that it needed to have some anecdotes in it. But this cookbook isn't really about me. It's about the people that came before me. All these recipes are dishes that I grew up eating. So it was relatively easy for me to list out. It was probably harder for me to like omit recipes than it was to think of them for this book, because I was like, okay, what did my mom cook, this day? What did she cook that day? What did my father's aunt cook? Like I just thought about what everything my family cooked on all four sides of my family. And I wanted to like really tell the story of those dishes and show why they've stood the test of time. A lot of these dishes are just selfless. There's no, when you go to a Jamaican museum, the creator of curry goat, like that's not there. The creator of oxtails. It's just like it's born from true stories, and some of them are sad, and some of them are beautiful, and that's what I wanted to portray in this book.
For anyone that doesn't know, what are the 4 parts of your family where you've pulled these recipes from?
Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, West Africa, and the American South, like Louisiana and others. But there's also influence from me growing up in the Bronx and just eating like Dominican and Puerto Rican food, or being in DC and eating Ethiopian cuisine. So it's influence of all the different cultures that have impacted my life, whether I'm directly like related to it or not.
You got any family that you told that you were putting the stories in the book, and they'd be like, "No, don't put that in there"?
No, I didn't get anybody's consent. I hope I don't get sued. I like to ask for forgiveness. Send them the book. They won't read it anyway.
They better read it. This is a good book.
You know how your family is, though. They're so proud of you, and that's where it's.
That's where it's. Yeah.
Like,
did you get the book? Nah, man. I was about to.
I think one of my favorite parts that, while reading it, was you don't shy away from talking about the darker parts of the history of creating Black America, right? And I remember, I don't know if it was in an interview or if it was in this book, but I did a creepy amount of research. You said your grandfather told you that it is not your entire history; it is a portion of your history. But you've made a lot of connections between slavery and food. How did you get to that point? Why was it so important to create that connection?
The connection is something that's present. It's not something that I created. It's just that like I like to think of food and break it down, for every single dish. And for American cuisine, it's really tough to talk about American cuisine without talking about West African cuisine, because it directly influenced it, whether it's the ingredients that came, like rice and watermelon and bene seeds and okra and yams, or it's the actual dishes like jollof rice, which is, now in America, jambalaya, or, fufu and stew is chicken and dumplings, or, suya is barbecue. So like there's always there's always something that you can trace within food, and you can really like tell a story with a plate and also cross oceans. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I think when I read in the book, it's really cool how you. It's not just the cookbook. It's really stories and history lesson. If you turn, every page is a lesson. It's something that you can learn, and it's something that you can miss if you just skip over and go straight to the recipes. Particularly, one thing that I like is you put some respect on collard greens, man. And there's a part in the book where you specifically talk about collard greens and the history about it. And it's not just something that black people eat, and it's unhealthy is kind of what the stigma is. But you kind of gave the reason why collard greens is really important in our culture, coming from the Great Migration, something we talk about on the podcast all the time. It really had a cultural impact for generations. And I like how you put it in the book. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to test me because backstage,
I got all the questions, man.
It takes like
Page
2.5 years
37.
to write the book. So now I'm going on the road. People are asking me like, so page 37, how did it feel when you said the word "the"? And I'm like, shit, the fuck. Hold on one second. But I do know this one. Collard greens, yeah. I think the history of it is pretty spectacular and brilliant, and just how much nutrients are actually in collard greens. And the thing that we like the most now is like the pot liquor, which is like the sauce that comes from like stewing collard greens with like smoked pork product and aromatics. And, back in slavery, during slavery, the enslaved Africans all they had was a small piece of meat sometimes, but they were able to grow their own vegetables. They had their own small little plot of land, and collards would grow like wildfire. So they would cook that with the small piece of pork, and the adults would eat the greens, but the children would drink the pot liquor because it had the most nutrients. So it would carry them for a couple more hours than just eating the greens. So like those are the stories that are intertwined in the book. Like talking about jerk chicken, which is a dish of freedom. The enslaved Africans escaped from the British and they climbed the mountain, and they were trying to figure out how to eat without getting caught. So they got some wild thyme and wild allspice and wild chilies and lots of salt, and killed some boars, some chickens, rubbed it down, and dug a hole and got some embers and threw it on top of that, and then covered it so their smoke wouldn't allow their location to be revealed. And that's how jerk chicken came about. So like those stories I think are so important. Some of them, like I said, are pretty sad, but they're important that we know these things so we can really give them the respect that they deserve.
Yeah. I was gonna say real quick, in that specific section, it's green, collard greens, and other vegetables. There's 14 different recipes specifically just surrounding like the vegetables and the leafy type of things, and the way you mix that stuff. I'm not a cook, y'all. I'm not a cook at all, so. You could have put 5 different things. I would have been like, dang, that's crazy. You know what I mean? but it was just really amazing to see that you took that and you stretched it. And you just said, hey, look, there's more creativity with this. So I just want to commend you on that one. It was fascinating.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
My next question was going to be about, in your introduction, no specific page, you talked about your first restaurant shutting down and how that was kind of hard, obviously a really hard thing when you have a project like that. But then you traveled a lot to kind of revisit the places that inspired a lot of your recipes, right? Mentally, how was that transition from going to, I guess, if people aren't aware, you're French trained, right? So you talk about the incorporating the French technique into cooking the recipes that felt like home that aren't necessarily present in that. How did you mentally get to a point where you are comfortable incorporating both, or you're creative and it doesn't feel like you have to choose one or the other?
That's a great question. I think I just started wanting to cook the food that I crave more than anything else. And that was just food that I grew up eating. Now, I cook it differently because I have a different culinary lens, based off of my training and my upbringing. But I just got to a point where I just wanted to cook food that I crave. And the way it honestly like really, really came about was, my first restaurant closed when I was young. I was like 23, 24. It lasted like 9 weeks. It was a disaster. But I started doing events and I started cooking more Caribbean style food. And then I did this event for Questlove. It was for Green Day, and this was like before Impossible Burger meat came out, and they sent it to us, and it was for Earth Day, and we had to like use that. And I tasted it, and I was like, "This is so gross. I don't know what to do with this."
Agree.
It was an early rendition of it, by the way. And I was like, "Why don't I just make Jamaican beef patties? Like, I can put like breadcrumbs in it. I can season it really, really well. I can make a dope like calypso sauce, and I'll make the dough from scratch and everything." And I made it, and it was a huge hit. And I was like, why don't I just like massage this and try to keep cooking food that like I'm super familiar with? And that's how I got really, really comfortable with it.
That's pretty dope. Along those lines too, you were talking about there's a holy trinity of Cajun and Creole foods, and I'm gonna list the holy trinity to y'all. It's onions, bell peppers, and celery. I had no clue. I've been praising the wrong guy. Like, that. Now that I think about it, that is fantastic. Did you come up with that, or is that something that's okay? All right. I don't know.
It's been around for a long time.
Okay, shoot. I'm in the kitchen praising everything now. Shoot. Thank you, McCormick. Thank you, all that.
Hallelujah.
Dario will eat a burger every night if he could.
Sure would. Sure would. Look, this ain't about me. Just
Well, Well, there's a burger recipe in there.
Oh, I saw it, bro. I saw it. So that was the first page I turned to. You know, it's funny. You were talking about how you cook for certain people, and there's a part in the book that is really cool. Is talking about baby back ribs, and I have a quote, y'all, so that you have to remember it. He said, "Baby back ribs without mac and cheese is like Jay-Z without Beyonce. Great, of course, but not yet at its full form." And I couldn't agree more. Now that I think about it, I'm like, man, ribs and you know, have you ever eaten it without mac and cheese? No, you haven't. You know?
No. What kind of mac
forgettable.
and cheese do you like? Do you like obviously baked?
Well, if you get the book, My America,
Yeah. Hey.
mac and cheese that I love. No, I like baked mac and cheese, but my mom, she made stovetop mac and cheese growing up with like a bunch of different cheeses in it. So the recipe in the book is kind of a blend of both. Like I make a Mornay sauce, and then fold that into the noodles, add like 5 different types of cheeses, and bake it off. So it's like a blend.
Speaking my
A
language.
blend.
I actually, speaking of flavors, because I remember you saying that you don't like bitter flavors, and then I remember your interview with Harper Bazaar where they said, "What do you have in the morning?" You said, "I'm not a breakfast person," but you have 4 shots of espresso, and you don't like the flavor of coffee. Do you feel like that's a red flag, or just?
It's one of them. It's one of them.
I have another. I
just
have another
drink
red
it for
flag
fuel.
for you.
I drink it for fuel.
That's
This
my second red flag is this. This is not a question. I just need you to know that he's not a dessert person. Okay, not a dessert person.
But I like ice cream.
What's your favorite? Well, I know you like Jenny's, but what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Like a generic ice cream flavor or like the fancy shop ice
It's
cream
your show,
flavors?
whatever.
Like generic is like cookies and cream. And then like at Jenny's is gooey butter cake.
Oh, that's a really good one.
You know what I'm saying?
Gooey butter
for
cake?
sure.
Yeah.
Wow. I never had that. I feel like
Because
I'm
you
gonna
stay in the car anytime we go to Jenny's.
now,
You refuse to get out and get ice cream.
It smells so sweet. in
first
there,
of
too.
all, I knew it was a matter of time until she started breaking into me. You know what I mean? But I had something else because I do want to talk about like the lesson. There's history lessons in this stuff, man. I've spent a whole bunch of time like over the pandemic just learning about Egypt randomly. I don't know why, but I just love it. And you talk about some history about how mac and cheese really came here and who got credit for it. So let me take y'all on a little history lesson. Y'all can read the rest of the book. But James Hemings, I had no clue. He was the one that kind of found it. And thanks to you, you told me Thomas Jefferson got a lot of credit for that. And they used to call mac and cheese macaroni pie. How do you know this stuff, bro? Like
There's a lot on the internet you can read, but there's libraries.
Say Google it.
Yeah. No, hey, don't tell me that. Whole time I'm you my superhero. I'm like, man, this man is smart as hell. Like
I just read. I read.
Okay.
And do research.
fun condiment. Okay, I got it.
Books and Google. That's
Yeah, there's a lot of documentation on these things out there, and it's something that I like to do in my spare time, and I like to get to the root of all different dishes. It's just something I like to nerd out on that kind of stuff.
I think that's what makes this book, the cookbook, stand out so much is that when you are reading the cookbook, you can read a cookbook, not just go to it for recipes. This you get something out of it. You know how many people I'm about to tell about this macaroni and cheese like that, like like that's something that there's more. There's a whole bunch more that you do.
Say when you tell them, say you went on a quest to find the answer to that.
Okay, all right.
It'll sound better than just like reading.
Just don't say Google, all right?
Went on a quest.
hard pivot. What do you feel is like the most underutilized kitchen tool?
Kitchen tool.
Or like, what's your go-to? What's your favorite? What do you reach for the most? I'm not talking like knife or spatula, but
My air fryer.
Hey, let's go. Yeah.
Heats things up very quickly and efficiently.
it's luxurious. What is your favorite air fryer recipe? What do you make in the air fryer?
Oh, I'm not making anything. Like I'm reheating like pizza or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, you put pizza in there?
Yeah.
Boy,
It has a pizza, like the Breville one. It has like a pizza
yeah.
setting. And
I don't
it asks
yeah.
if it's frozen or if it's just like defrosted or if it was just sitting in the fridge. So
I really need to pay attention more. Like, cause I'm a microwave guy.
yeah.
The poppable type of time, the poppable stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Popcorn?
Yeah, no. That too, yeah.
It's poppable. It's probably the most poppable item in the world.
Yeah, I would not disagree with you. Also in the book, you outline the different sections that are very story driven in color. You know what I mean? Like the red outline of the book is really cool, and I found myself jumping to those, really quickly. How did this concept about having a cookbook like this, and this is why this book is really one of the most anticipated, because it's a great read. You know what I mean? Like, how did that concept come to be?
It was really about like I didn't want to do the same thing from the last book, but I wanted to kind of finish the thirst that people had for like more recipes in the same vein. So it was, showing probably like the 4 pillars of like my cultures, as well as a little bit of like my travels through America. So, there's Nigeria, there's a whole story about my time in Nigeria. Also just going back as an adult, finishing that story, because in Notes from Young Black Chef, it was about me being a kid there. So going back to these places as an adult with my family, trying this food, and connecting the dots. And I thought it just made for a more cohesive piece of literature.
Yeah.
While you travel back for this research and these recipes, for me, one of the things that popped into my head was that when I moved here from Jordan a decade ago, I really struggled with being maybe a bit too pretentious about the authenticity of food, right? So I would always compare it to food that I had back home, and it doesn't taste the same, or it's something slightly different. How do you feel about that concept of like food is not authentic? Do you feel like it maybe stifles creativity? Because you're very creative in your recipes, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think authenticity, it varies from person to person. Somebody's gumbo recipe in Louisiana is going to be different depending on what house you go to. I think that there's an essence of each dish that you need to really keep intact, and before you go out and like do something super creative, I think you need to understand the essence of the dish. And yeah, authenticity, there's nothing new under the sun, and things have been done for a very long time, and if anyone thinks that they created something first, I'm pretty sure that it's been done before. So I think it's there's a fine line between like just being authentic to a recipe and then having your own creative license on it. A lot of the recipes in the book I feel are authentic, but just like the cooking methods and the layering of flavor is just seen through the way that I cook.
Do you have a certain recipe or dish that, based on like trying to get it right with the ancestors and your family, do you have something that you like, man, I do not want to mess this up?
Gumbo, for sure. Oxtails, curried goat, shrimp étouffée. Like a lot of these dishes are like I can't mess it up at all. Yeah. Like just rice, just plain rice. Yeah. I have a recipe in there just for perfectly steamed rice. So like most of these dishes, if I mess up, like I'm gonna get my black card revoked. So I need to like make sure that they're straight.
I know you said previously your mom had a catering company, so you started cooking with her, right? Illegally, because you were 5. Just child labor.
A long time.
Yeah. Has she tried any of these recipes that are in the book, and do you look for her seal of approval, or?
She tries a lot of the recipes when she's like, because she still cooks to this day. So I'll send her recipes. A lot of these recipes I've had for a while. Like these are a lot of recipes that I've cooked in restaurants or along, just along the way of cooking professionally. So she's tried a lot of them, and yeah, she loves them. She does. I don't have a joke about that.
Yeah, you bet not. That's mom. Don't play with mom. You have about over 125 different recipes in this book. I just want to know, man, of all 125, which one?
Don't say your most favorite.
No. Not the favorite. But which one do you have the most fun making? You know what I mean? Just fun, not the one that you like the most fun making.
Probably the jerk chicken. Because it takes like 3 days.
Hey, your black card is solid, my brother. You good? Like, that's a perfect answer. Ain't going nowhere.
The jerk chicken, because like I make this jerk brine, I make the jerk paste from scratch, make like a ginger garlic puree, and like brine the chicken, then marinate it for a couple days, and then smoke it like low and slow, and then make a jerk barbecue sauce. So like it's something that I take a lot of pride in, is the jerk chicken. There's a lot of bad jerk chicken out here.
Yes, it is.
So
Yes.
when you do it right, it feels great.
Speaking of the garlic puree, your first chapter is Pantry, which I love that. It again reminded me, I related a lot to it because I grew up in my grandmother's pantry where she like pickled things and had house spices and stuff. For the people that didn't necessarily have that experience, why was it important for you to start with that chapter?
It's the starting of layering of flavor. Like you can't really get to the other recipes until you get through the pantry. So it's making all of your hot sauces from scratch, making your marinade, making your spice blends, even like browning. We used to like make brown stew chicken and rice and peas. All of those things are important. They also last incredibly long, in the freezer or in an airtight container. So if you start with those things, like you can make all these dishes relatively quickly. And the pantry is so important in the Caribbean and Southern and West African culture because we have to preserve a lot of things. And then through that act of preservation, we also found that it tastes fucking delicious. So it's an important thing for this book, and I think it can also transcend into just dishes that you already cook.
Yeah. You mentioned about how the preservation of food. Also, in each one that's really cool is a sidebar. You actually put how long things can last in the refrigerator, and that was specifically made for me, people like me. So I applaud you, brother. Thank you. All right. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I got 2 days on this jerk chicken. If it just 2 days.
As if you're making jerk chicken.
Hey, look, I eat, so y'all don't ooh that. Like that. Relax. Who's been the most fun that you've cooked for? Because I know you've cooked for the Obamas, you cooked for Jay-Z and Beyonce. Who's been the most fun person you cooked for?
My family.
Aww. Okay,
go ahead.
other than that.
Psych.
Yeah.
The most fun, probably Dave Chappelle.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. What did he order? Like, what did he want?
What did he? I've cooked for him so many times. So like I've made
so many times.
I made like oxtails or like whole fried red snapper with like a brown stew glaze. I did a whole dinner based off of like his life one time. So there was like from different places he grew up. So there's a lot of different stuff. Yeah. But he's easy to cook for because he just likes everything. So he's not picky. He's just like hot food. Let's go.
Yeah. I should be more like that. She would think otherwise. You have a lot of experience. I know we talked about it. You have a lot of experience in pretty much all over the world, man. Like I think that was the most amazing part is because it's like a journey through with your family too. When you went back as an adult to Lagos, I mean that was fantastic here. What place gave you probably the most inspiration? And I think I know the answer to it because I read the book, but I just want to hear from you.
Yes, I mean it's hard to like quantify inspiration because like you never know when it's going to like come out. I think it goes in and then it spurts out at different times. I think they all were so great. Like being in Nigeria, it was, especially as a child, it was such a culture shock for me. Tending the land. If I wanted a 10-piece chicken wing bucket, it took 5 chickens and it was like 5 months
and
to raise
trauma
them.
of
Yeah.
murdering the chickens.
And murder because I named them.
Murder,
and then,
yeah. Just murder.
So yeah, there was, but it taught me like to respect our ingredients and not to waste things. Trinidad and Tobago was just like a kaleidoscope of flavors. Because all the different cultures there, as well as Jamaica, and then the American South is like it put a face to the name, of these dishes that I've been eating this whole time, like seeing actually where they come from. Yeah.
Have you had? This is a personal Chicago question. Have you had our mild sauce here? And do you like it?
Mild sauce?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, good.
From Harold's?
Yeah, there you go.
It's
Okay,
good.
all right.
First of all, I
Come on,
can't.
man. I know what's up.
Yeah. Hey, look, I just want to be sure, man. Like, make sure that black card is solid.
That's a good question because you did say that New York was the best food city, and
It
I
is.
respectfully disagree.
That's all right.
Respectfully, you need to be in Chicago more.
Are you going to ask any questions? I just want to say this is a red flag.
I just have personal questions here for me. The things that I need to know.
It's gonna be a long car ride home, boy. I tell you.
I love it.
Oh, me, my turn. What was I lost my train of
You
thought.
on fire, man. Like, go ahead. Just keep pelting them.
When you go home, what is a meal that you request?
From my servant?
From
Like-
your like if you no
When I go,
like
bring me the mac and cheese.
no like
What am I requesting?
no like if I go home, I ask my mom to make me something
Okay.
that she makes really
When I go to
really
my
well.
mom's house, I beg her to make gumbo. It was like a dish that she made on our birthdays or on Christmas. So if she ever, is in town, I always make sure that she makes that and I freeze some, so I can always have a taste of home.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
How long? Who's better, you or mom? Who's gumbo? Be honest.
My mom's. for
Okay,
sure.
mom's gumbo still king. Okay.
Is this recording? No, my mom is the blueprint for gumbo, and she makes it with her eyes closed.
Oh wow.
Like I'm there with like 2 pairs of glasses on, trying to figure stuff out. Like she's just like a total pro.
Yeah. You talk a lot about that, like cooking with like eyeballing things. How hard was it to write a bunch of recipes when that's really like how you cook is you eyeball?
Well, no, because I operate restaurants, so like when I'm at home, I eyeball, but like I can't tell everybody to just put a little bit of this, a little of that. You'll have gumbo different ways, 7 days a week if you do that. So I already had recipes pretty standardized before this, and then we had to test these recipes out as well. So that was another opportunity to weigh them.
Yeah. Do you feel like you learned something about yourself or about just the food that you love while writing this book? Because obviously it takes a while for a project this big.
It was a pretty cathartic experience, writing this book and like reliving moments. It was very similar to the memoir. But what I did find, which was like ingrained in me, is that West African, Caribbean, even Southern food is incredibly complex. Especially like you're building a pantry first before you even have to like get to cooking. So it made me respect it like that much more, and just want to talk about that.
What about this book that stands out the most in the creative process as you were making it? What do you remember the most about this book?
It was really hard. That's what I remember because it was the pandemic. I was like filming Top Chef at the time. So like I was testing recipes like after filming, or like my recipe tester would like ship me, because you'd have to test them yourself and then have someone else test it. So they would ship it to me in these like styrofoam boxes overnight, and it was a lot of work. But it was like a care package from home every time I opened it up, because it was like recipes that I grew up eating. So it was a beautiful process.
I love that. I also want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned Top Chef, so that's my segue. First of all, how was the experience from going from being a contestant to actually being a judge on Top Chef? That must have been weird.
Yeah, I walked in, I thought I was getting pranked, and they were gonna be like, "Okay, your time starts now," and I was like, "Oh my god!" But that never happened, and it took some getting used to. But I think it came from a place of empathy as a judge that has actually been through that, as opposed to someone who's just like, a celebrity or something. Like I understand the time constraints. I understand the stresses. I understand like being on TV for the first time with a bunch of cameras in your face. You may not put your best foot forward at all times. So I think that helped me in the judging process. But it was cool. It was really cool being on the other side of the table. I like that place a lot more.
Yeah. Do you ever have the urge just to go shit on somebody real quick, like just?
No.
Are you still a hard judge? Are you a hard judge, or do you feel like you take it a little bit easier?
I think I'm just very direct, So I wouldn't say I'm a hard judge.
Honesty, best policy. If it don't taste good, you need more seasoning, brother. Just
That's
put
it.
it in.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I like
I
it.
think most of the contestants, they want to hear honesty as well, and I think constructive criticism so they can become better. And I think that's what the best chefs are that come out of that show, are the ones that like really listen to the judges and then really impart that into their cooking.
Could be an obvious question, but did you take any of the dishes from your season that you were on and put them in this book? And they got better, obviously.
I don't even remember what I cooked. That was so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I just lost my trail of thought again. Do you have?
No, hey, look, I still want to know.
Oh, I want to ask you about the nail polish. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
there we
read
go.
it's the cutest story. I want you to share with everyone how you got to your nail polish.
Yeah, so I came up with a nail polish line. It's breathable. It's safe for the kitchen, which is cool. And the colors are like based off of like kitchen items. So there's saute silver, there's eggplant, and there's chef's kiss. But I usually get my nieces every summer, and they begged me to go get their nails done with them. This was like 4 years ago. And I got all black, and I was like, this is kind of fly. And I never stopped getting it until today, I guess. Yeah. I swear I wear nail polish.
It must be it must be really hard to think about like what is your next step. You've opened 5 restaurants before you were 30. You have a cookbook. You have a memoir. You have a bunch of amazing accomplishments. Do you have like a dream next step in? I don't know. I don't want to put a time constraint, but in general?
Yeah, for sure. I started acting recently because they're turning the first book into a movie. And, they gave me a small role, so I didn't want to show up like a chump. So I started taking acting lessons, and, then I got an agent and started getting like booked for acting gigs. And like I moved to LA. So that's something that's been very fulfilling as of recent. And I forgot about my love for acting. I used to act as a kid in all the plays. So like acting and cooking were like my first true loves. So finding that has been a true gift. So that's what I'm really excited about.
We were talking backstage, and I'm gonna tell the people you said next time you're out here, you're gonna get on the mic and do some comedy, man.
Yeah. I do stand-up comedy in LA now too. So
How's that been going?
it's great.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? All right.
Wow, that's a good one.
This may be personal for me, but like reading your story, man, and just knowing who you are, and then looking at the book, do you feel like you are a role model? I'm gonna say specifically for Black people, Black men. That's because you're using the culinary arts to really showcase talent, in a different way, and it feels different than you've seen other chefs go about it. Do you feel like you are a role model? Do you want to be a role model?
I feel like anybody with a platform has a responsibility to like lift people up, and I would hope that people would look up to that as inspiration. I don't think that that's like the focal point for me, but it does come with the territory of making sure you're inspiring people and leaving the world a better place than you left it. And if we all have that mindset, then we all are role models at the end of the day. We should all be just trying to like spread love, and helping out each other, because we're stronger together than we are apart.
Do you have any words for anybody that's looking to jump into, writing a book or
Don't do it this year.
Don't do it this year. Not this year, 2023, huh?
Just do it. Just do whatever you want to do. The fact that we can talk on cell phone to go to the moon, it shows you that we can do anything that we really put our minds to. So I would say just do it. Just start that chapter. Just get that job. Just go to school. Just do whatever you want to do in life, because it really is such a gift, and to waste it is a dishonor to anyone who's come before us.
And my last question before we open it up for the audience to ask is, if you were to have people have one takeaway from the book, what would it be? What would you want people to get from it?
I want them to get I want them to open their eyes to other cultures, and understand how much of a melting pot America is. Your neighbor has a totally different upbringing than you, but they are your neighbor, and just get to know them and it will expand like your mind a little bit and your heart.
For sure.
That's a perfect answer right there.
Yeah, that's
I love it. I
great
love it.
transition.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now I believe we're going to have some questions if you want to ask
We have
questions.
time for one question.
If you could please raise your hand if you have a question, and someone will come with a mic.
We got a couple questions up front here in the back.
Hi, my name is Oliver. I'm about to graduate high school next week,
Hey.
and I'm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm going.
That's like one of those congrats.
Right, because it's not over.
Life is about to get really
Ooh, boy, it's about to get real.
I'll take the applause though. And I'm planning on going to culinary school, and I was just wondering, what is the hardest part of like fully committing yourself to the craft, like stretching yourself out there and like making it like a core part of your life?
You gotta want it as much as you want to breathe. You know, you have to think about it at every single turn. It's got to like really be your everything, at least for a little bit. You have to really dedicate yourself to it. And that's the advice that I give any culinary student that comes and asks, like, okay, what should I do? Find the hardest restaurant in your town and go and work there. I don't care if you like the food. I want you to see what it's like to work, really, really hard at a high level. And every single craft is like that. If you want to be the best eyeglass designer, you go to the best and really put your head down. And then when you leave there, you have all the options to do what you want to do. So just give it your all.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right up front here.
Nice.
Is it okay if I ask you a two-part question?
No, it is not okay.
Can you talk about palate fatigue when you're judging on Top Chef and how unfair it might be for the 8th contestant or the 16th contestant that day?
I don't really get palate fatigue when I'm judging the shows. I know a lot of people do. I think because I only take a couple bites of each dish. I think when I first started, when it was really good, I would eat the whole thing, and it was like fuck, and then, I couldn't even eat anything else. But I think when you just understand it's a marathon, not a race, it does help.
So the second part of the question is, from your gay contingency of fans, did you know that you were baiting us by wearing all that nail polish and all the jewelry?
What is baiting?
That you were sending some kind of like signal about your gender expression that was confusing to us and making us hope,
Oh,
Yeah.
well, keep hope alive.
I know you just did say keep hope alive. I like. Hey, shoot out here. I like it.
I was wondering if you have any favorite places that you eat in Chicago.
Yes.
Can I know some of them?
Yes. Number 1 on the list is Virtue. I don't know if you've heard of that. Chef is also right over there. I see him with mask on. Eric Williams, everybody. And that concludes my list.
One comment, I ate at Virtue last night. It's great, best food in Chicago. Quick question, when is the lineup and the ticket availability for Family Reunion 2022 going to be released?
We're working on it. In the next, what day is it? The 8th.
7th.
Probably the next couple days, you'll see something come out. Thank you for asking, though. Out of breath. Soon.
Yeah, that was a long hike, boy.
Hi. So I'm a big Top Chef fangirl, so it's very Top Chef heavy, and I'm so happy to learn all these things about you. I'm sorry I was late, all that. But so I have a couple questions as well, but they'll be probably quick. First one is, what does Padma smell like?
Next question.
Does she smell beautiful? Does she have a floral essence?
He smells like a clean
Baccarat Rouge.
human.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chanel, my special sauce.
It's a trap.
My other question is, so the early days of Top Chef, they used to show us when they all lived together and like show us there was like drama about how everybody lived together, blah, blah, blah. Did you all live, and I know this is very specific and weird, but did you all live in like one unit place together, or did you live in like separate hotel rooms?
You talking about from my season, like
Yeah.
when I was a
You're
contestant?
specific when you were a contestant, yeah.
Yeah, so it was Top Chef road trip. So we lived on the road. So we were in hotel rooms. You ain't even watch it. Look at you. You see what I'm saying? See how people get a microphone and just wanna.
I just can't remember. I watched it. I promise I watched it. I watched them all.
Don't do it like that, Kwame. Don't do it.
I was gonna say that's not a thing.
I'm messing with you. No, but seriously, it was Top Chef road trip for real. It was all of California. We were in Palm Springs, LA, San Fran, the Bay, all over California. We stayed in hotel rooms, so we had a bunkmate or a roommate, and then you got kicked out. You got kicked off the show, then you got a new roommate. So it was like that.
Okay, those are my only questions.
You handling this real good, man. I start sweating up here. Like, what she smell like? I'm like, oh, no bacon. I don't know. I was scared.
I have a question and a compliment. First of all, I'm a middle school language arts teacher, 7th and 8th grade. Got your book.
Oh,
It's
nice.
great.
Thank you.
And it's in my classroom library.
Wow.
I think it's wonderful. My question was a Padma question, too. Did you know they were going to spin those reels to make you look hot under the collar every time they showed her? Did you because, as a viewer, they would show her and then they'd pan to you and you'd be like,
Oh, when I was a contestant?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
That
didn't
was
know
all
that.
Hollywood spin, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was crazy. It was, whatever. It was TV. It's fun.
And then, are you still friends with the people, the pack that you catered with when you were going through culinary school, working in all those? You're still
They still
close
work with
them?
me, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Got another one?
Hi. So I got here a little late, so I don't know if you already answered this question, which is a little stupid. But I'd like to know where you get your groceries.
That's a great question.
This sounds like a sponsorship answer.
I get my groceries from Whole Foods. Whole Foods, farmers markets. Yeah, probably those two things. In LA, there's a store called Ralph's, Kroger. So it depends on what city I'm in, but definitely I'll go to Whole Foods or like a farmer's market for groceries.
Why didn't I think of that question? That's
Yeah,
a
no one's ever asked me that. It's
I have the
great.
same question about spices because one of my friends that used to run a Mexican restaurant would actually go to Mexico to get the spices. So I just wonder where you get your spices.
I get them like when I'm working in restaurants. They'll be from certain purveyors. So they have like purveyors that specialize in getting certain spices. Like Chef's Warehouse and Baldor. These are like where restaurants shop. That was a hard thing to say.
Yeah, you made it.
West to want
Yeah.
shop. Yeah, so that's normally where I get my spices. But like, if someone's going somewhere, I'll tell them definitely bring me something back because there's certain stuff you can't get here, like from Nigeria or Ethiopia. And then if I'm in like Trinidad, I'll bring back curry powder. If I'm in Jamaica, I'll bring back certain type of spice. So on the travels, but like I can't bring a bulk amount of that, so I get them from different purveyors.
Hi, thank you so much for being here today. In my role in my professional career, I'm an advisor for students going into a variety of different fields. And one of the things I talk about with students is the role of mentorship and how that changes over the course of your career. Would you be willing to share a little bit about how you were mentored early on and maybe how that mentorship has changed as you've progressed in your professional career?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have many mentors like that. My mom was my mentor. She had the catering company. She was someone that I went to for advice very, very often. And then I had mentors along the way that kind of like looked out for me. But that like professional mentor that other people have had, I've never had that. it was my mom, honestly. But I think it's really important to, when you do have a platform, to mentor somebody, to like really try to find someone that you want to push along, or someone that you truly believe in.
Actually, on that note, you have a charity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that charity?
Yeah, so I have the Kwame Onwuachi Scholarship Fund, where I put a student through the Culinary Institute of America on a full ride, and then mentor them throughout the way. So they have my phone number. We have like monthly meetings. Whenever I'm in their city, they'll come and hang out and do events. So yeah, that's like my scholarship.
Can like a regular person donate to the charity?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Where can they find it?
I've never accepted donations. I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, you got to figure that one out, man. I accept all donations. Y'all need my phone number. I can give it to you. Like,
we can pass around a collection plate right now.
773.
Yeah, see your hat real quick. Pass it along.
We still have time for questions. Anybody have any more questions?
So obviously cooking can be an emotional process. So thinking about your cookbook and how you created it, was there a particular recipe that was an emotional process in the creation and development of it?
Yeah, I would say it's a very simple one, but rice and eggs. It's like a Southern dish. It's very cheap to make, and it's like the day after you make something with rice, you'll use the leftover rice and saute it with eggs and maybe a little bit of garlic and Creole spice, and that's a whole meal. And I just really enjoyed it as a kid, and I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as an adult, and it just brought back so many memories of like being with my family through struggles, but still like eating good at the end of the day.
Right here.
Can you share your, feelings about everything that restaurants have gone through in the wake of COVID?
Yeah, I think it's been really tough for a multitude of reasons. For chefs having to like push through and like squeeze every single penny out of anything that they could, to make sure that their staff was working the whole time. I thought that was like super admirable. And then restaurant workers just being first responders at the end of the day too. People had to eat and restaurants had to stay open. So I think it was incredibly tough, but there's also like a reckoning of the restaurant industry of saying like they don't really want to work in restaurants anymore because it's incredibly tough and they don't get paid a lot. So I think on all sides it was like for chefs and restaurateurs, it was like, how do we make this a viable business? How do we pay our staff properly? And how do we make money? So I think, honestly, people are still figuring it out, and it's going to take some time to really figure it out. But I think this industry is a very fickle industry. We need rebates on taxes alone because it is such an integral part of the fabric of America. Like restaurants, like you can't have any event without food. There's going to be food in the back, by the way, after this. No, I'm just joking. It's not. But when you're mourning, there's food. When you're celebrating, there's food. When you're going to meet someone, there's normally food. It's so important, and there needs to be some rebate or something because the cost of an onion hasn't really gone up in the past 10 years, but the cost of rent has, and that really needs to be addressed.
Alrighty, folks, this will be our last question.
Oh,
the pressure is on.
As a reminder, we have copies of My America, Recipes from a Young Black Chef available for purchase in room DEF, which is the room directly below us.
How'd y'all get that? It don't even come out yet.
I'm just passing on the information.
I
know. I was about to put my book away. I'm like, oh, God. Oh, God.
Okay, final question. Could you name like the top maybe 2 or 3 people that you admire the most in what they're doing currently in the food industry and why?
top 2 or 3 people I admire the most in the food industry. Probably Jose Andres for what he's doing. There's the Independent Restaurant Coalition. And there's a plethora of chefs that are involved in that. But Tom Colicchio and Andrew Zimmern are definitely like the leaders of it, I would say. So I would put all of them in there. Yep.
There you go, man. Chef, thank you so much for being here, man. We appreciate everything you're doing, man, and much success to you. Thank you all for being here. The books will be out there legally.
It's approved.
It's approved. All right. Yeah, you can go ahead and pick up your book. Again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming out. Get a book for yourself. Get it for your family. Get it for your friends. I think it's a really important book to have as an American. So thank you.